Hello, everybody. This is Greg 29407 back with another episode of City Skylines. Well, this is kind of the big finale for Murky Coast, which we've been working on now. This is episode 30 of this series. And I think we've done everything we want to with it. And I think it's time to do a summary of everything we've done and how we started and take us from start to finish. So this is the city itself. We've got a pretty nice looking town. We decided to start this entire town right here in what's called our Old Town section. This was our original freeway entrance that we had, and they gave us like this much space. This was our original square. And what we wanted to do with this, the goal was to create a round city with a hub and spoke system. I wasn't sure if that was going to work. I wanted to try this to see if this would be a good alternative to the typical grid system that you see. So here was my roundabout. We come off the freeway, and I want to do a big roundabout. And we have 6 spokes coming off in this direction. They're not evenly spaced. They're just close enough. And these are all dual roads, 4-lane roads. The freeway thing's a little bit bigger. And I wanted to go off on these areas and see if we can create a round city that worked well with traffic. And what we did was we're using realistic population. So we have a lot more residential than we normally would. And I wanted to have limited access to these main roads. And what I did was I had they're wide boulevards, so I had a lot of space on either side. So I have very few buildings are put right on this main road, very few. This is our first section, we did that. My thinking was eventually we may go ahead and put in mass transportation, maybe trains or monorails or trams or something like that to handle all the massive traffic that I was worried about happening in our main circle. That never occurred. Because we have our Old Town area, which is just inside this circle, is all low density, aside from a few high density commercial in this area here. We never had a problem with traffic in this area at all. Had a little bit coming into the freeway, which handled that a little bit later. But all these areas, these neighborhoods, were fantastic for traffic. There's no problem at all. For lore, what we decided to do was we had the train tracks over here. And we decided early on that this was going to be an old industrial railroad town. This town probably started in the 1800s because of the railroads. There may have been like 5 or 6 sets of tracks going through here, and here is some oil fields, and there's a bunch of forestry. And so the people who started this town probably started right in here, right off the railroad tracks, and they did this to create industry. So blue-collar town. Most people worked in the mines or the oil fields. They had ore over there. They got forestry. So hard-working guys. And in that regard, we created this first little neighborhood, and we did a bunch of little stuff. So we just zoned little tiny bits and pieces for little tiny houses right off the tracks. And right around where the railroad tracks were, we put in some walkways, which are very popular with the residents. They're walking through there. And this was the original town in our little made-up history of our village. So everyone lived along the railroad tracks, and they worked on the railroad, or they worked over here in the oil fields or down here in the forestry area. What they did was they ended up building some industrial areas down here, some things like that. And eventually, they built this completely circular city. And, times got tough, and the railroads kind of faded and got down to just one set of track. And eventually, the town may have been dying, and then the federal government came in the 50s and said, we want to do a federal freeway system. So they cut off the bottom of the circle, and they put in the freeway system, and it breathed new life into our town. So that was our lore. That's what we came up with. So Old Town is all low density. And in fact, if we look at this, we see we have 2,700 people living within this main circle. So what we did was we went ahead and created a road right around this Old Town area. It's a 4-lane road, and again, I put very wide boulevard, so we have walkways and things like that. And we also put in our first mass transportation, which was the tram line. Now, the main option is you can put the tram line down the middle of the road here, these 4-lane roads. But I decided to do something a little different. I put the tram lines on the side of the road. And we have 2 sets. One set goes clockwise and one set goes counterclockwise. And because I wanted to keep things kind of beautiful with the tree line, boulevards and stuff. Now, the problem with the tram line is most of the people who use the tram line come from outside here, outside of our circle, because they will walk over here and they'll get on the tram line that's closest to them, which is one that goes counterclockwise. The counterclockwise tram line, let's see if we have this up here. The clockwise circle only does 168 people. Counterclockwise circle does 504 people. So about 3 times more people are on the counterclockwise than they are on the clockwise. Because residents will walk over here and stand for this track, but people from here don't want to come in here, cross over the road, and then cross the track to wait for the clockwise. So that was kind of a shortcoming that I didn't realize. If I had put the tram line down the middle of the main road, we would have had more of an even group. But that's okay. That's a minor inconvenience. Both tracks go in the same direction, same places. What we then did, we had our first suburbs. This is they started growing over here. We built this neighborhood that's called the Lower West End. What's their name? Because it's between this spoke and this spoke. This spoke we kind of cut off here and connected to the freeway. And this proves to be a very high-end area. It's all low density until you get to right on the river where we have some high-density stuff. And this area has 6,500 people living in it. So more than twice as many that live in Old Town. I love this area because I've never had a single bit of traffic problems here. Their residents, they just live here. And then we also built another suburban area, well, not really suburban, residential area right up here. It's called the Upper West End. And it goes from about right over here near this spoke and all up this way. And Upper West End has 9,100 people in it. We have a few more high rises around here. We also have some high-end commercial and offices. So a little bit more stuff going on. We have a library over here as well. A little bit more traffic here. Not bad, though. Not bad traffic at all. Now, what I also did at that point was we wanted to go ahead and do our bus system. And the bus system proved, I've never used the buses before. Trams carry 90 people, and buses carry only 30. But what I did was I did a bus line in the Lower West End. Let's see if we can see what that line looks like. And it zigzags all through the area here. And I have stops close to both of the 2 tram lines. So here is a bus stop, and here is a tram stop. Here's a bus stop, here's a tram stop. And this thing is really, really popular. All these people are getting in here, and they're taking it to get to the tram line. So it saves a lot of cars on the road. This is, let's see, this is the west, so 105 people. So we're getting a lot of decent traffic on there. We also did a bus line here in the Upper West. And it kind of, again, it kind of catches all the big stuff. I didn't want any bus stops on this road here where I have all of my commercial stuff. So a little bus stops right off that road. And it goes around in this area, and it really saves me on a lot of traffic. So that really worked out really well for us. So with that in mind, and again, this is a little bit higher end because it's farther away from our blue-collar work. Again, these are smaller houses, and this is our industries over here. So this is kind of off to the side. And if we look at the wealth values, green is high wealth. You'll notice this is not so high wealth, and then it gets, much higher wealth over here. So this has been very successful for us. So next, what we wanted to do was we wanted to use the campus DLC, which is brand new. The campus DLC has 3 different colleges. They have the trade school, the liberal arts school, and the university. And since this is a blue-collar town, I said, well, let's do the trade school. But I didn't want to have a trade school that was on a leafy, beautiful campus, with pristine environment. I wanted to build a trade school right in the center of a downtown area, which is a little bit more realistic. And so we built the Gamecock Trade School right here. And so as long as we're doing that, let's go ahead and build a business district as well. So we have 2 of our spokes. We have this spoke that goes straight up, and we have this spoke that goes this direction. And so let's continue this area over here for housing. And all of this, let's make like our business district and our trade school. Now, this is where we started to run into some trouble. So over here is fine. We went ahead and created Pretentious Park. This area over here is all using the Green Cities housing. So they're all the Green City buildings. They're very efficient. They're very nice houses. I really like these a lot. It's a different look. Look kind of mid-century modern style houses. The Brady Bunch house there. That turned out pretty nice. I like that. I capped this spoke. This is the top spoke, and I capped this rather than going across the river, which is what I should have done. I capped and put all high-end residential, and I put a big park up here. This is all one giant riverfront park, which is nice. But I wish, looking back now, I had continued this over here. I could have still had a nice big park over here, but I kind of needed this road to connect to the freeway and give us a little bit more traffic relief. But what I did over here was I laid out these roads, and I didn't want to do too much direct connections from this spoke to this spoke, but I did all 2-lane roads going across here and up and down. My campus, I thought that my trade school would probably take up about this much space. That was what I was thinking. As it turns out, trade school takes up this much space. That is a vast amount of space. Now, everything in here is not all campus. I have business buildings in here as well, commercial and industrial. But still, it's a lot of space. The buildings are quite large. Here is the trade school administration building. And what we'll find, though, is these college campuses are fantastic for making money. Look at this. Tuition fees, $116,000. Expenses, $22,000. We're making massive amounts of money from our trade school. It's well worth the effort to put in the trade school buildings. Where I ran into problems was I had too many 2-lane roads, and I didn't widen them in time. And as you can see, I put in a roundabout here. I had a big traffic jam here. I did a 3-episode story arc, mini arc in this series on the problems I was having with traffic in here. Ended up getting it fixed. Same kind of thing. The reason was people needed to get into the business district, and I had an easy way to get in, but it's hard to get out. There were a bunch of left turn stuff, so I needed to put this in here. Same problem over here. Ended up doing a roundabout. And then finally, I had a serious problem in here. I ended up with gridlock because of all the 2-lane roads and just poor access and egress. It took quite a bit of time to get all the roads worked out in here. The trick to this was to widen your roads beforehand before you need them. I should have known that. I had way too many 2-lane roads for way too long. That was my mistake. So that was a learning experience for us. I also have a tram line in here, which worked really well. It's one of our big ones, the business district's tram line. 413 people use that. At one point, it was much higher. It was in the 700s. Later on, I came in with Subway. But so this is now working well. So that worked out pretty well. So let's see here. After that, one thing I forgot to mention. When we first did our round city, we also did our first industry, which is the forestry industry down here. It comes off of this spoke down here. And I like forestry quite a bit because it's very clean industry. If you look at the pollution, only the processing plants have any kind of pollution at all. Everything else is very clean and green. We were able to build their own railroad yard over here for all the trains to come in, and we started making money right away on this. 8,000. It varies from about 8,000 up to about 18,000. We make paper and plain timber. So this was a profit center for us right away, and it helped us. The campus was a profit center as well. So at that point, we were doing the city, after I finished all the traffic problems up here, I had a little bit of traffic down here coming in from the freeway into our town. And the reason for that was we had very little freeway access. This spoke came in. This spoke goes to the freeway somewhat, and then this spoke right here connects somewhat to the freeway as well, but not that much because it takes a little bit longer. So what I decided to do was build a loop road. And I start off right here, and it goes all the way up here and around my city, and then through the mountain, and then back over here. So I have kind of an upper loop. Now eventually I connected it all the way around, so I have a complete circle. So I did this freeway road to kind of relieve the pressure a little bit. And there was another freeway that came with the game that went through here originally. I moved that. I relocated it through the mountain over here. I want to get rid of that. So by doing that, I had access to the freeway from this spoke, which was really important because that relieved some of the pressure from here, and from this spoke over here. I did a diverging diamond interchange here, which is quite large, and I did an episode on covering that. So now I had 5 of my 6 spokes connected to a freeway. Again, I wish I had continued this one up to the freeway as well. That would have helped. But once I did that, we had access to all this land over here, and I decided to do some suburban areas. So let's do some pure suburbs. And what you see here is I have the main road coming off here with a little roundabout, and I created 4 different distinct neighborhoods. They're all low density, and I was able to use some mods that I pulled off the Steam Workshop called parking lot roads, where you can create your own parking lots like this and little parking lot roads, and it's a different way of doing commercial. So I just took basic commercial and put them on this little road, and the cars come in. And then over here, same thing. Now you can also get buildings off the Steam Workshop. I got a whole series of buildings from a guy. This is the Bed Bath & Beyond building. So I built a little shopping center for that. And then I came up here and I built a Home Depot shopping center, which also shares the parking lot with the Food Lion. And again, I just put some other commercial and industrial and offices right around there. And here's another little small one with just some commercial and offices building. This one right here I think turned out really nice. It's got a Kohl's department store and a Toys R Us. A little twist over here, so it's a really nice little thing. And then this is kind of a small little thing, which turned out really cool looking, I think. So these people, these little suburban areas, they have places to shop in. And I eventually also did like a little bus line that connects all 4 neighborhoods. So all 4 neighborhoods have 2 stops each. And they let out here in the Home Depot parking lot, so people can come over here and find other means of transportation to go into the city. And I think this bus line doesn't, because you wouldn't have a subway stop over here. I ended up putting one in here later on for something else. But so that was pretty cool. I enjoyed doing that. I think it looked okay. But here's the thing. I call this area of town the Valley. And the Valley only has 3,400 people in it. Now, to put that in perspective, all this land over here, 3,400 people, I probably have 3,400 people living in this little area right here in these high rises. So that gives you a little bit of perspective on how much space takes up. One of my bones of contention with the game is that there's no mid-density housing. They have low density and high density. I wish there was a middle density housing that could kind of bridge the gap, because there's such a huge difference. Single family house has 1 family. These have 138 families. So it seems like there should be some middle ground there. But anyway, as I was going through this whole city, I was doing a bunch of my beautification, putting down a lot of trees and lots of walking paths. I have walking paths everywhere, along the railroad tracks, along the wide boulevards, connecting one neighbor to another. This neighbor connects to this one via walking trails, and I just think it makes the city look more vibrant and nicer. There's always a lot of people walking on the walking trails too. Sims love walking around. So there's still a lot more to do here. I could keep going up farther. I set this aside for some farming. So I thought, well, we had the big city and then, smaller and then suburbs and finally farming. But we didn't really get around to that. As I was looking around, though, I noticed I was going to put some more suburban areas up here around this road. Oh. Before I skip that. At that point, I went ahead and did my oil industry. Oil industry is very, very important. This is big money for us. The oil industry we covered in a couple of different episodes. What I did was I did a road from this part of the freeway down here, close to my loop for our round city, but not connected to. I didn't want a bunch of trucks going into this area of the town. And then the road continues back to the freeway again. And this freeway connects through the tunnel in the mountain. So this area is kind of completely cut off. You can get to it easily, but it's independent of everything else. And I put a bunch of gravel roads in here. And we started off with, let's see what all of our industry buildings are. We had all it's 5 levels. And we went through from the small oil pumps, which pump out 6,400, up to the massive ones, which pump out 10,000. There's medium ones as well. Did the processing buildings as well. And what are they saying? Not enough buyers. Oh boy. I kind of overbuilt some of these, I think. So we call it Ewing Oil. And Ewing Oil makes us a lot of money. It goes anywhere from about $58,000 to about $75,000 in profit each week. We make petroleum and plastics. Very profitable for us. We have a household plastic factory where we make some profit, not a huge one. I also had a bus line connected down here. Look at all those people, and a subway system too. So this stop right here on our tram line, no one ever came to this area. There's nobody here. But after putting a bus line that connects to our suburbs, and a subway line that connects, I'll show you later, to all the rest of the city. There are thousands and thousands of people that come down here. I also have plenty of walkways, so people can walk to the neighborhoods over here. They can walk to the college. My campus is right here. So this is a very walkable city, but look at all those people. And so this is really a hopping area. So that was very pleasing to see. This and the college campus financed the rest of this city. Look like we're a little low on oil right now, but these buildings will bounce back. See, 2 of these have already come back, so maybe we need to put some more pumps down. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, so we have, it seems very small, but these pumps are tiny, so I could put another dirt road up here and have another whole set of pumps on both sides, and maybe another one there, more up here. I just put 2 pumps on this one so far. I could do more along here, so a lot more room for growth here. Our profits for our town range from a small negative to a big positive, so we're in pretty good shape there. Anyway, back to what we were doing. I was going to put some more suburbs over here, but I kind of noticed up here there was a natural formation, and there's a bunch of these mountains over here, and there's like this little natural valley with a big mountain right in the middle of it. Excuse me. So I said, this is a good chance to examine the styles section of the game. And styles are different types of buildings you can put into a district. The game, I think it's the base game or one of the DLCs, gives you 2 styles. They give you European suburbia and just plain European. And the European look like these high-rise buildings, both commercial and offices and residential. And the European suburbia are these little suburban European-type houses with the little hedges in the backyards, and it's very simple roofs, kind of historical looking. So I wanted to use both of those. And so I put a main road up here from the suburbs, and then I have a second road that goes through the mountains and connects back to the freeway. And I didn't realize at the time I'm doing another round part of my city, another round city, but that's just because this is a round valley. So I put the main road around here, and because of this big mountain here, I made this one giant park, Austrian Ridge, and I beautified it with a bunch of plants and trees and put some trails in here. And then I wanted a Bavarian-type town, like a Gatlinburg, Tennessee, or European-type style. And as you can see, I've done that. And a lot of high-end residential up here, some offices and commercial on this side. This is all residential. This is all residential. And then my little suburban area up here. I think it came out looking really, really nice. This is really cool looking. I like these type houses anyway. It just looks really nice. This is one of my favorite parts of the entire city, in fact. At that point, I also wanted to do a nature reserve, which is one of the 4 types of parks that come with the Park Life DLC. You get the city parks, which we've done quite a few of, the nature reserve, the amusement park, and the zoo, which we'll do a little bit later here. So the nature reserve, I went ahead and set up as this big area right up here. It's all up on this mountain up here. And it's a place for hiking and things like that. So we got all these things. And I started thinking, though, in real life, if we had like this area in this mountain range high above the rest of our city, I bet in the wintertime this would get cold and snowy and things. So I bet in the wintertime this hiking stuff with all the little trails down here, and as I put all this stuff in here and the walkways and everything, this would probably convert over to a ski resort, just like Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So what I did was I made a poor man's ski resort. So what we were able to use cable cars. So even though we have hiking over here, this is our ski lodge, and this is our nature reserve entrance, and we have a cable car. So for the ski resort, we said, well, in the wintertime, this would be the bunny slope right here. You can take the cable car up. You can go on the bunny slope. You can take it up to this station right here and walk down here. And this is our medium difficulty ski slope. And I put a bunch of trees around here. So you start off here and you ski down this way, and then you get up right next to the ski resort. And then you can take the chair lift or cable car back up here. If you want to even more tougher, then what you do is you go on this, across the little road here, and you go on this cable car up here to the expert or suicide level skiing slope. Here's a little road, and you ski down this way, and I decorate this with trees, and you come down here, and if you survive, you get the little walkway and walk back over here and go again. So that's our secondary ski. And what I also want to do is, since we're using the cable cars, I said, well, why don't we just go ahead and connect cable cars all the way around? So the cable cars come up here, and they come down to this area right over here, and this cable car station gets a surprising number of people on it. I made this just for show, but a lot of people use that. And I said, well, I'm going to continue this on. So notice that it goes around over here, and I actually looped the entire area. The cable car goes all the way around. Now, not many people use all this section up here. Mostly they're going from here to here, and then, the ones around the ski lodge. But not many people use this one over here, but it's for fun. It's for show. In real life, people would probably like to take this. And I've actually taken this. You can follow one of the things. I've taken this and all the way around. When you're up here, look how beautiful that is. Look how the city is all down there, laid out like this. It turned out really, really cool. I like this a lot. So that was where we're at with this. So that was it. And then we said, okay, let's start finally going across the river a little bit. And the first thing I did was on this lighthouse point. This little area, this is just this area right here. It cuts off right here, actually. So I want to put something over here because this is the way people are get onto the freeway, but they weren't using this very often. And I call it this way because I noticed there's a little lighthouse right here. I didn't put it there, it just came with the map. So I did a little park down here. This area right here surprisingly contains 8,300 people. I was trying to do a combination of high density and low density. I have a little shopping center in here with my parking lot roads. This got really full really fast. And this road was originally going to connect over this way to my little roundabout here, but because I had so much traffic on here at one point, I just decided to dead end. These people can take the road around here. But this was pretty successful, and I was very happy with this. But we still had a problem with a shortage of residents. So I came up here, and we created Levittown. And what I did was I paused the game. I did my old SimCity method. I paused the game, and I designed this entire area all at one time. I created on-ramp, off-ramp to the freeway here, and another one up here, and I put the airport over here. So the airport has access to everybody. But then I just sat there on pause, and I created this whole series of circles around here. I learned the mistakes from Old Town as well as our business district. Most of these are residential. In fact, almost everything is residential. A little bit of commercial along here and here. A little bit of offices here. Everything else is residential. I just need a lot of people. This time I wised up, though. I did a main 4-lane road around, all the way around here. It's 4 lanes, and it has a tram right in the middle of it. So I wanted a tram line. And the tram line comes all the way around the circle and then comes down here, and it crosses the river. It's a tram line only crossing. And it dumps people out. Excuse me. It dumps people out right here, right into our business district, and then comes right back again. So that would save me from having too many people on our freeways. I have 4 quadrants. I have the main boulevards like we did before in our old town. But this time I have the different quadrants connected by roads that go overwards, overpasses. Each one has two connections. And next, I want everything to be connected, but not overly connected. I have 4-lane roads on the outside where we did high density, and then high density within the middle part of the circle, and high density on our main tram road. Everything else was low density. I laid this out. I said, I don't know how this is going to work. I put 2 or 3 elementary schools and high schools. And I turned it on and said, this may not work. It worked great. The only changes I had to make to this was right over here. I have this road that's one way going in and one way going this way. This road was originally like right here, and it was a two-way road. This road right here was up here, and it was a 2-way road, and I was getting some real traffic in here. So this way, when you come into town, you have to go this way or straight. That's it. And you can go around here and back in, or around here and go back in. That was the only road I had to change. This was a huge success. Eventually, I came back and I connected this road as well, that connects all the way around, thinking that would be doing a lot more commercial and offices over here. I wanted another road to keep some of the busy through traffic off of the main streets. I didn't end up doing that. I still could, expansion for commercial and industrial up here. There just simply wasn't that much need for it. In fact, I didn't even finish filling in this part with more housing. And this road is going to eventually continue around here and maybe connect with the freeway somewhere. But again, I just didn't. We finished that. Eventually, what I did do, though, I put another high-end business district right here at the bottom, mainly offices. I did the IT thing, so we got a bunch of high-rises, some commercial, and then some high-end residential. I did this road right here. I think this turned out really nice. This little curved road, it's raised, and it's worked really cool. So I also, in addition to my tram lines, I have bus system that's within here. The same thing we found with our other neighborhoods. That's worked out really, really well too. So this was pre-planning, and the pre-planning in this case worked out really, really well. So at that point, all of this section of our town was pretty much done. So that's when I decided to do our tourism and leisure. And first thing I did was I connected my freeway all the way around, so we now have a complete loop. And then I did a road. On this loop, I created this massive on-ramp, off-ramp. And I took this one road right here, this 4-lane road, and I connected it straight through here all the way down to this harbor area. And that was where the traffic problems began, because I had one way in and one way out. And I built this section of road around here, and it loops back around, so it was like this. And I put this is all leisure. My districts here. So this is my tourism area, right on the entire harbor, and over here. And then I have a leisure area for all the commercial stuff for the bars and the nightclubs and the restaurants. Then I did some residential stuff over here for the workers who work there. Excuse me. Now, the problem with this was I had massive traffic jams because there was only one way to get to the freeway. At that point, this was all fields, grassy fields. So this one road kind of went right through here, and it was backed up like crazy. It was moving, but it's just so many cars using that road. And I worked on that for a really long time. Eventually, what I did was I came to this freeway up here and did this on-ramp, off-ramp. And I had this road loop down here and come in, and I have a second way in, and then I have a second way out, both connecting onto this freeway. And that helped out a lot. What I then wanted to do was I wanted a sports complex. So I didn't know what it was going to look like, and it was really, really ugly. I managed to get in the football field, track and field, aquatic center, basketball, and baseball, all professional teams. And I had this oval roundabout. So all my roads coming in, this two-way, this one way in and one way out, all connect to this thing. And all I had was this circular road with these buildings on it. It was really ugly. It was like spaghetti. I had these roads winding everywhere. I had power lines coming in everywhere, and then they came down below here. Eventually, what I did was I put a one-way road around the outside of these, so they all had their own parking garage. And again, I did some districts where I made this all tourism, and then on the outside edges over here and over here, I had leisure. This is called Applegate, so I call this Orange Nightlife, just for the heck of it. So I have some things for all the people who come in for the sports events. They can spend their money on hotels and accommodations and things like that. And then I started doing some decorating. I used the rock system and trees, and I put a bunch of paths in here. Eventually, I put the concert stage over here, and the overflow concert over here. And I created this park in the middle. The park no one ever goes to. I don't think anyone's ever visited. I think I laid this out wrong. There are a lot of people on the walkways up here, so you can travel. I have a subway system too. That was when I went ahead and went with the subway, because I ran into real problems, and the subway helped out a lot. So what I did was I put a subway station right there. Let me show you what the subway looks like. The good thing about subways is they are made for intercity. I got two lines. You have your buses and your tram lines for local, and you have your subways and your, to a lesser extent, monorails for the cross-town stuff. So I went ahead and put a subway system, the station right here, right in the center of my sports center, one in my Lighthouse Point, an exit right here at my Levittown, then downtown, and then right in this area near by Ewing Oil and my Old Town area. And it just kind of goes back and forth, back and forth. That cut down on my traffic quite a bit. It really helped out a lot. In fact, this is for the tourist area, 1,700 people use that every week. Massive amounts of cars off the road. I then also did another subway system. It goes from my airport, again, over to Levittown, over to my business district. I put one subway station in the suburbs, although they don't really need it, because it's on the way to my Alpine Village. And they did use that quite a bit. They have a bus system too, but there's a lot of people up here, and they were kind of cut off. So that one gets about 1,000 people a week. So also very popular. Only 12 vehicles there, 8 stops, 20 vehicles for my tourist one. So that cut down on a lot of my traffic. That helped out a lot. So that helped a lot, but I was kind of stuck because I had this circle, and then I had a bunch of spaghetti stuff. I ended up doing another road around here. Again, another circle. Goes around those. And this allows 2 ways. It's not one way this time. It's 2 ways. And this allowed me to take advantage of all the land around here. I'd already built this suburban area around to service my tourist area called Krabby Harbor Estates. have 8,300 people living in this area. It's just a section right here. And I have a bus line that connects over. But I needed a loop road that would help connect. So I created these 4 neighborhoods over here, or 3 neighborhoods, I'm sorry. This is a little suburban area that has some high rises into the mountains. This is another suburban area, again, high rises up in the cul-de-sacs of the mountains. And then this third one over here, again, high rises on the outer edge. These 3 together are called Mountain View Estates, and it's 24,000 people living in this area, thanks to the high rises. Again, bus system. For the round road, I was going to put a tram, which I've had so much success with, but I decided, let's try something different. I did the monorail. And I think this was not a good use of the monorail system. Only because if we look at our monorails, right here, there's the monorail. Yeah. Only 77 passengers are using the monorail. Monorail is really for crosstown, and it's not for the circle. I think the tram line would have been more successful here. I have 3 stations here at our zoo and amusement park, and then up here in our office park up here. So not a lot of demand for the monorail. I put a little commercial area over here. Again, with the parking lot roads, I did a little thing with, it has a Michael's and a Piggly Wiggly. And I think it turned out really nice looking. And I did another shopping center here with the Super Target. That turned out looking okay. And again, we got our traffic problems taken care of. As part of our tourism area, I expanded this over here. And we have a lot of assets available, a lot of museums and things. And I put them all along this main road here. We have the Expo Center, the Opera House, the aquarium, the Modern Art Museum, the Theater of Wonders, the cinema, and the theater. To be honest, I don't really like the way I've got those laid out. They're kind of an afterthought. They're across from a little city park, but I don't know. I kind of plopped them down there. I'm not that happy with them. We ran into some real traffic problems as we started putting in residential over here. It's kind of interesting. That's why I had to go some roundabouts over here, and notice we have a lot of roundabouts to take care of the traffic issues. This road, at one point, this road and this road got so backed up that I actually had gridlock, and I had to use my escape button of clear traffic so I could fix everything. So that was not good. I have another bus line over here that connects a lot of things. In fact, what caused that traffic was I had a bunch of buses at 2 bus lines, and they were both using this main one-way road here, and I had stops on this section of road, and it was holding up all the traffic. So I moved the stops, and it was a cascade effect. I'm not sure what happened, but it was a disaster. So that was a lot of time and effort. That took care of that. Down here, this was very blank. This area was just like this. This whole section could still use a lot of work, a lot more growth possible. But I got a mod it's our extra landscaping tools, and you can make lakes and ponds. So I went ahead and did that in here, and there's an episode on that where if you don't check your brush strength very, very well, you're going to have a problem. I actually had like Mount Everest. I clicked once, I had a Mount Everest tower in here that I had to smooth out. And this was kind of unattractive at first, but then I put all these office buildings here, and they have nice little roads around here and loops over underneath the freeway and back again. And to be honest, this section right here is my favorite part of an entire city right here. If I can make an entire city that looks just like this, it would be awesome. We actually at one point, we clicked on one of these cars and followed them as they drove through this area with the high rises. It just looks beautiful. I'm really happy with this. Because again, this was so ugly originally. It looked like this and this, just blah. And now I rank this slightly above my Alpine Village. So that's a close number 2. But this really looks really awesome. So very happy with that. Then we decided to go ahead and do our zoo and amusement park. And we create a little road over here. And this is our zoo. And we went through all the different steps. We have all the attractions possible. And the zoo is not that successful. 9 visitors a week. We lose a lot of money on it. Um, well, we have 21,000 visitors, so it's popular enough. It's just we don't make a lot of money on this. We have all the animals. It's kind of cool. And this is how I typically lay out the zoo, and usually the amusement park too. I have the main road come in. I have a dual thing right here with all the little center thing here, and then all of the attraction on the outside. Then I decided to do the amusement park. I said, well, I do the amusement park and the zoo the same way. So I decided to get a little fancy. We used some canals. We carved this out. We created that, and then we did a couple of our lakes. We did a little pond over here and a little slightly bigger pond over here. We really spread our amusement park out a lot more. We have all the attraction. We have double some things. We went to our city park stuff and pulled out some assets like the trampoline park. We have the kiddie area. All the little kids can play here, and then the more adult rides over here. And we have some fishing piers and all sorts of things. I think it's a very nice looking park. This grew pretty quickly. This one. This one is almost break even. And we have 34,000 visitors. This is much newer than the zoo. 94 people a week. That's much more popular. So I'm not sure if it's always that way or if we just had kind of got lucky here. I don't know. We have some room over here if we wanted to put in some high-rise offices or something. Always more room for growth. I was originally going to go ahead and do some little walking trails to get over here to this area. I didn't get around to doing that. We could put in some trails to see if people want to walk over here to those parks. And then finally, we did an ore industry over here. Much like the oil, we laid this out as a circle again, one-way road here, because what we got over here? Not enough buyers for products. Okay, we're in a little gap for that right now. I think we'll have more. We have all of the digging out things here because this is where our ore is. So we're sitting on all we have the underground and above ground ore, and then we sink the railroad tracks down a little bit. We have all the processing plants around here and the storage facilities, and finally the factories. So you do all the mining of the ores, and the trucks take them up through here, and they either store the materials or they take them to the processing plants and back to their own railroad station. And this has ended up being, 22,000. So it's been pretty profitable for us as well. Of the 3 industries we have, farming is just like forestry. Oil is king. Oil takes up the least amount of space and turns out the biggest profit. College campuses is another big profit for us. So that is the history of our town, of Murky Coast. So what worked and what didn't work as the final summary. What worked? I think our circular town with the hub and spokes, that was very successful. Old Town was a big success. We never had any traffic problems there. Levitt Town, again, I designed that and it worked great from the start. And then our Alpine area, we had a little bit of traffic here, but primarily when it had a little bug where suddenly one of the roads in the town didn't work right. No cars could use it, so everyone was stuck on one road. That's worked really well. We also did around City Park for our sports complex, which was pretty successful. At one point, we had all 5 of these venues with events going at the same time. We had a lot of traffic, but it handled it. So I think that round cities work just as well as the grid section if you do it correctly. What else has worked? Bus lines to trams for local. I'd never done bus lines before, but using them to take people from the suburbs and to the nearest tram lines really worked out well. Buses are cheaper than trams, and they do less of an infrastructure cost on your roads. So I'm going to continue to use buses to trams as a system. Subways work great for cross-town. Monorails, somewhat less so, but I really like the subways. Industries make huge profits, as I noted. Rebalanced Industries as a mod cuts down on the ridiculous amount of trucks you have. In previous maps I've built in this game, I had to do very small industrial areas because the amount of trucks coming off those were so horrible it would choke your entire city. So rebalanced industries is a mod you definitely want to use. The campus at 5 stars is huge profits. I may make an all-university town at some point using trade school, liberal arts school, and university. I think the money will be hand over fist. Some of the mods that I've been using, they're really, really useful. Move It, Traffic Manager Presidential Edition, and the Find Roads Anarchy, Find Road Tools. Those 3 were huge difference. I use those pretty much every episode. I have those listed on my my write-ups as well. For doing any kind of traffic patterns, which again, we call it a city building, but it's really traffic management, traffic simulation. You definitely need those 3. As I mentioned, Rebalance Industries is really good. Network extensions and extra landscaping tools, that gave me the lake, which I really like. Parking lot roads, and various commercial assets like Home Depot and Target and Walmart, things like that. Those are nice to have. I like using those as a different way of doing things. In real life, you have a lot of shopping centers. You have a lot of big box stores. So why not put those in your town as well? All those things work really well. What did not work? My initial design for a business district did not work. I used too many 2-lane roads. I had limited entrance and egress from the 2-lane roads onto the main spokes. It caused a huge amount of traffic. I had to go with roundabouts to fix those things. My initial design for the sports complex was not well thought out. I needed more on roads to get in and out of here. I didn't know what I was doing. I just had the one circle here. My brilliant idea was a second circle here, and that still wasn't good enough. Only when I did this outer ring that really came into its own. And it still has some more work to do. If I was going to continue with the city, I would need to do a lot more stuff to make it nicer. Riverside Park looks nice. It's huge. It's my biggest park. We've had 237,000 people in here. We make a slight profit, $300 a week on that. But I really wish I continued the spoke all the way across the river to the freeway. I think that would have helped traffic a lot more. What else did not work? Again, as I'd mentioned, I don't like the way I laid out these museums. It's an afterthought. This should be the center of my tourist area, not just the beach and the water facilities, but this should be a major center. They're costing me an arm and a leg. I mean, this thing is $1,600 a week. This thing is $1,600 a week. That and the sports buildings are what caused me to go to negative numbers. I got positive 61,000 a week right now, but I hit negative numbers because of those things. So I didn't utilize those correctly. The monorail, the way I use the monorail, I think is unsuccessful because it just goes around in one loop. This has been better for a tram line. Monorails, I'm a little cool on because they do a lot of noise pollution. You have to do the lines a long way, and to be honest, just from a practical standpoint, it's kind of hard to see your traffic because these lines are blocking the way. And I was going, oh wait, I have traffic. Oh my goodness, I see all these cars lined up. I didn't see them because the rails were in the way. So I'm not. They're more expensive too, so I'm not really a fan of those. My ferry boats did not work with this town. Normally they're pretty good. I did this in the last episode. I tried to create a ferry line that takes you from the airport directly down to the tourist area. No one used it because they can drive faster. My city is facing inward into the circles. No part of the city, aside from my tourist area, uses the rivers at all. As I noted in my last episode, this is the only normal road that crosses the river. It's a 4-lane road. It's the only one that crosses the river. Here's a tram-only road that crosses the river. Everything else is freeways. I ignore the river completely. Every time we have a high-rise on the river, it's in their backyard. They're facing inward. So ferry boats will work for you as a travel. Um, but you have to be more of a river-facing town. I may try this map again where I face the river, have a lot of roads crossing and that kind of thing. But those are the things that didn't work as well as hoped. So lessons, final lessons. I learned a lot from this series. Hopefully you did too. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you learned some things. I learned a lot of stuff I had not known before from playing this game. This map took me roughly 165 hours. And I did over 5.5 weeks, so it was a lot of time. But I took my time. And that's the key takeaway is this is a game. So take your time building your town and have fun with it. I was sitting here. A friend of mine was laughing at me last night because he goes, "Oh, watch your episode, and you were talking about all these little houses, and you're laying out these little tiny things, and talking about in the 1800s this was a railroad thing, and no, that was kind of silly. That's the way you like doing it." But I had great fun doing that. I did a little backstory for my town. You don't have to do that. I mean, it's just extra stuff. It added something for me. I had fun doing it. Have fun. This is a game. If you build a perfect city and your traffic is 86% like ours is, and everything works just perfectly, and yet you leave a session, and you're angry and upset and keyed up about something, then you're playing the game wrong. You're playing the game wrong. And believe me, I've been there before. I can't tell you how many times, not on the videos, where I'm sitting here watching these people, I'm going, "Why are you people all in the same lane? I've given you 3 lanes. 3 lanes. Use them. Why aren't you?" And I'm yelling at these pixels, these fake people, because they're not using the roads correctly. I'm playing the game wrong at that point. I need to save the game, exit, and walk away. In fact, actually, let me save the game right now because I haven't saved in a while. Okay, but because I'm playing it wrong. Because if you're not having fun with the game, then you're not playing it right. If, on the other hand, you have a town and you have terrible traffic, it's only at 50% or 63%, but you're having a great old time building everything the way you want to do it, then you're playing the game completely right. If your city doesn't look right, it looks kind of goofy, but you had fun doing it, then you played this game exactly right. Because this is a creative outlet. You should be having fun. You come home from work at the end of the day and you want to do something a little more creative than just pushing papers, then come here and you build a city. And maybe you're one of those people that wants to come in here, and I've seen this. People want to do everything on this house. They'll design the house specifically. They'll put in the landscaping around the house. They'll put in a fence. If that's what you want to do, brother, do it. Have fun. Do whatever you want to do. Build a small city, build a big city, do whatever you want. But have fun. And take your time. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to do this thing. I could work in this town for the next 5 years if I wanted to, and that's perfectly fine. So have fun. Number 2, solve all your traffic problems as they come up. So if you lay out a section of your town and you have a traffic issue right in here and you don't know what to do, don't say, forget it, I'll just move on to something else. Solve your traffic problems early on because it's not going to get better. It doesn't magically fix itself. It may take you a lot of time, but work on it, fix it. Generally, it's going to be like a roundabout type thing. Figure out what the problem is, the root cause of it is, and fix that. I've mentioned before, there's a guy on YouTube named Biffa, B-I-F-F-A. He does a channel called Biffa Plays Indie Games, and he does a lot of city skylines. And what he will do is you can send him your city if you have a lot of problems, and he will fix the city for you with traffic stuff. And I've seen people with traffic, again, we're at 86% for traffic efficiency, traffic flow. I've seen people at 3%, 5%, 10%, and he will fix it in a half-hour episode. It takes him longer than that, of course, but he cuts it down to a half-hour episode. And he will show how to fix traffic. And all my secrets and tips that I've given on this series have come from watching Biffa fix traffic. And sometimes I throw up my hands and go, I don't know what to do next. I've watched some of his videos, and so he's really, really good at that kind of thing. But fix your traffic problems early on, because once you hit gridlock, you're not going to have a lot of fun anymore because there's nothing you can do. And finally, my last bit of advice And this works in this game, and it works in life itself. And that is this: when in doubt, roundabout. So always build your roundabouts. Roundabouts help out with all your traffic things. I saw one guy, all of the intersections were roundabouts, and he had perfect flow. It looked kind of goofy and silly, but he had perfect traffic flow. He didn't have any backups anywhere. So that's it for this. We're putting a pin in Murky Coast. I've been very happy with the town. I've thoroughly enjoyed doing this series. I hope any of you that managed to stick around for all 30 episodes, God love you. I don't know how you managed to do it because I got way too long-winded on some of these, but I hope you've enjoyed this. So until next time, this is Greg 29407 saying farewell, and we will see you next time.